How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crump. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. I just found out that our guest here was almost the greatest co-host in the world.
No,
Okay.
greatest host. He would have been the host.
He would have been. I got to step up now. I got to be like pump my. I'm here now. This is my spot over here.
Now, you know what, man? He moved on to bigger and better things, Mike, so you're stuck with me.
I know, boy. I bet you're regretting it. You're like, damn, how did I not get robbed? But you're stuck with me, unfortunately for you.
Hey, as long as I have somebody to talk Cowboys with, Mike, I think I'll be all right. Cowboys and food.
Beautiful. That's what I'm here for.
Yes, sir. Well, Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
I am Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, here we are with episode 2 of Mike and I's new series, Cowboys Crystal Ball. In this series, Mike and I bring on a guest to discuss the Cowboys schedule in 4-week increments. Last week, we had on Jay Massey of the 4D podcast, and we broke down weeks 1 through 4. This week, we have fantasy football enthusiast, co-host of the Fantasy Authority Dino Show, and content creator for the Fantasy Authority. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Robby Jeffries to the broadcast. Robby, how are you?
I'm great, man, and I think the saying "everything happens for a reason" is why you got Mike. We were talking pre-show, and he says, "Hey, I show up and do 80% of the talking." That's a skill in its own, guys. That is a skill that needs to not go overlooked. I can't do that. That's why I'm the host of my own show, because I do the same stuff. I toss it to my guy Tom, and he just rambles and talks for 80% of the time, and it's fantastic. You got to have the yin and the yang. So everything happens for a reason. I'm excited to chop it up with you guys.
Mike definitely makes me look good. I have a feeling you're going to make both of us look good tonight, Robby.
Let's try. Let's do what we can.
Well, Robby, where can we find you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm at NFL Robby on the Twitters, and then you can find a lot of our content on YouTube as well. Just search the Fantasy Authority for anybody who's likes some Cowboys fantasy, wants to see how some of these guys are going to do. We will be going team by team throughout the summer, so stay tuned for the Cowboys projections.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to derail early, but I love your Twitter. I'm a thing about Twitter names. Like, I hate Twitter names that are too much. And at NFL Robby, beautiful. That is a great Twitter name. I love it.
Simple.
No weird spellings, right, Mike?
Yes, I literally made a William Hype's Finest. I made him change his Twitter at because I was like, no, dude, you have Hyperion H once. Nobody wants to remember. I wouldn't even call out his name on the show. We went back and forth on our podcast, and I was like, "No, dude, you're changing that name. That's too hard."
I think we actually did him a favor, Mike, if we're being honest.
Yeah, his name easy now. Hype Finest. His podcast is Fantasy's Finest. It's perfect.
See, that's what you bring to the show. Not only are you talking, you're making improvements to these guests, their Twitter account, how they're known, how people find them. I love it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm going to try to get us back on track here. Mike derailed us, like you said. Well, tonight we're going to be discussing weeks 5 through 9. So here we are. First up, week 5, we got the LA Rams, and in 2021, the Rams are 12-5. Their playoff record, of course, they were 4-0. They went on to be the Super Bowl champs. And their 2022 strength of schedule is the hardest in the NFL. Rob, when you look at the Rams, what were some of their key offseason additions there?
Yeah, I think the number one you have to point to is that wide receiver 2 spot in Allen Robinson. They have a little bit of change in some other spots, but when you talk about what's going to probably affect their team the most, I'm a guy who likes Robert Woods. I'm a guy who likes OBJ. I understand the dynamics that they bring. I think Allen Robinson has been a guy that just has been undervalued for years because he's playing with quarterbacks who just probably can't get it done, most weeks. And so now he gets to a spot, and we've said this every year with Allen Robinson. It's going to be the best quarterback he's ever played. It's going to be the best No, literally, this is going to be the best quarterback he's ever played with. So I really think he's going to open up that offense a whole lot more than it already was with Cooper Kupp, right? It's how can you not open up the offense more with Cooper Kupp? But I think they're going to find a way with Allen Robinson.
Mike, what about you? What were some offseason moves that the Rams that you liked?
I loved Bobby Wagner. This is a Cowboys related. Everybody knows Wagner was my guy. I have one main weakness that this team has had through the whole Dak era, and whether it's one technique or middle linebacker, you guys have heard me bitch about it for the whole time we've had this podcast. And Bobby Wagner, I know he don't cover like he once did. I get that he's older. He still plays the run at an immense level, and he is an upgrade over Leighton Vander Esch. And the fact that they would not go out and pay him that contract bothers me. We now have one of the top cap safe in the league. We're at like 22 something million. Pay Bobby Wagner and go for it. Like, this is a weakness. It has been for 6 years. Try to do something to help it. But, you know, the Rams did it, and it's kind of a replacement for Von Miller, but in a different way. Like, I know the one pass rushes, but this guy brings the veteran leadership and the run stopping. And so, you know, it's different, maybe less impactful, but it still is very important. And I wish Dallas would have paid him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, on my show sheet, I had Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner as key additions as well. And it's hard to dissect a Super Bowl winning team, you know, especially when they're spending money the way that they have. I mean, all the moves that they've made this offseason. I guess the really only critique you can really make is their draft picks. But even then, they seem to find gems there. So, yeah, the Rams just got stronger this offseason. But let's talk a little bit about some of their losses. Was there a big loss, in your opinion, Mike, that they had this offseason?
It's got to be Whitworth. You know, the tackle, he's such a good veteran. He's their best lineman, and an important part because Matt Stafford's not mobile, you know, like he used to be. He is getting older. So that's going to be a big loss. Like, if it wouldn't surprise me if that's what brings them from the Super Bowl team to a playoff team, is that left tackle.
Robbie, what about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with Mike. It's got to be Andrew Whitworth. I mean, not just because he's playing at a decent level for being 39, right? He's made 2 All-Pros, doesn't give up a ton of sacks any year that he's been in the league, right? And so not even from a playing standpoint, but from a team leader standpoint, from a locker room guy standpoint, like, he makes everybody better around him, right? Who that left guard is, who the center is, like the continuity on that line. Like, they're also going to be missing their right guard, Austin Corbett, but I think Andrew Whitworth is going to be their biggest loss. So that offensive line and just the team in general is going to really miss his leadership.
Coming off a season where you win the Super Bowl, everybody's kind of like, exhale. We won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
A guy like Andrew Whitworth's never going to be like that, especially at his age and the way he leads. So not having that in the locker room going, no, guys, this practice needs to be better. This isn't last year's team. We're not winning a Super Bowl right now. We need to play better. Losing that is an important part.
Yeah, for me, I had a loss of Von Miller. Of course, that's an easy one. But like you said, Mike, Bobby Wagner kind of fills that void left behind. Of course, not with the pass rush, but with the run defender and the veteran leadership and his experience in playoff games and those big moments. It's, you know, he's not – I don't know. Would you say that Von Miller or Bobby Wagner is the better player right now?
Miller. More impactful. What he does matters more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep.
So, you know, I'm curious, Robbie, when you look at Matthew Stafford, do you think he's underrated or overrated, you know, after winning that Super Bowl?
Well, he's getting to be properly rated, I'd say now, right? Like, he's been underrated for years, man. He was on some horrendous Lions teams for years, guys. Like, we've always talked about the Tony Romo era, and he has not had a top third defense. Romo had that 1 year, and it was the 2010 or 29 year where they went to and the conference championship or wherever we were at, right? The really good year in 2009. And Stafford has been the first round pick, but he got injured those first 2 years, if we remember all the way back, right? This guy that's been a stalwart for health came in those first 2 years, got injured, missed like 19 games in the first 2 years. And so people are like, oh, he doesn't have it. He's never making the playoffs. They're always struggling. The Lions, they never have a winning record. Well, this guy has 2 years of 41 touchdowns. He has 4,000 yards in every single season where he's been healthy, except for 2018. Seventh in game winning drives with 42 total, and then 5th all time in fourth quarter comebacks with 34. Like, he's up there with like the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Manning's. Like, I mean, and when I say that, those numbers are up there with those guys. I wouldn't put him in that tier, but we've always looked at Stafford like, yeah, he's good. He's like kind of like borderline. Like, now when he wins the Super Bowl, I think we put him in that echelon. Like, okay, he can't lead a horrendous team, but he can absolutely take a team that's talented and win it all.
Mike, what about you?
I'm right with him. I think he's properly rated. It's funny. He would be overrated if you took it by people who diss Dak Prescott. Like people are like, well, what did he win? What's he won this? QB's wins is a stat. Those people would be like, oh no, he's overrated because he couldn't win anything in Detroit, and now he goes to the Rams and he's great, because the Rams are really good. Those type of people would be like, well, he's overrated. Luckily, thank God, we're not those type of people. We look and go, your QB could be great, and you could still not have a lot of success. We've seen it 2 straight QBs with Romo and now Dak. So, yeah, I think properly rated is correct. I think right now he's properly rated.
Yeah, just to add to Robbie's point, you look at Matthew Stafford's career stats, he's 12th in passing yards and 12th in touchdowns, and like you mentioned, 5th and 4th quarter comebacks. I actually think Matthew Stafford might be slightly underrated even after the Super Bowl just because, playing on those horrendous teams in Detroit, like Robbie said, I felt like he was overlooked because Detroit didn't have a lot of success. And like you said, those teams were just straight up bad sometimes. And it wasn't really until Calvin Johnson came on the scene where they had that connection where they were kind of putting Detroit there on the map there.
Calvin Johnson.
Megatron, baby.
Sorry. Yeah.
You looking at a guy like Cooper Kupp and the matchup with what I assume is going to be Trevon Diggs. Mike, do you feel that's a mismatch?
I wouldn't say a miss. I don't really like that matchup. Cooper Kupp's not the guy I want Diggs to play. I'd rather put Diggs on Allen Robinson. I think Diggs could, put it on. Do I think like Trayvon Diggs just going to get murdered? No, he'll make plays. Like he's not just going to get killed. But I don't like the matchup. Kupp will get his yards on him. I would have Boss Man or Brown cover Cooper Kupp, or I'd bracket him and just say, all right, Diggs, you take care of Allen Robinson. And if they want to continue to throw at Diggs one-on-one on Robinson, I'll take that. I think Diggs will make more plays against him than against Kupp, and I'd bracket Kupp. So I guess you say mismatch. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want that matchup.
But you don't think that Trayvon Diggs should always take the team's best receiver every game?
That's old school football. If you do that, teams will set you up. They'll set you up in offenses nowadays. They'll go, oh, you want to do this? Well, we know you don't do this well, so we'll play this guy this way. No, Trayvon Diggs has specific. Mike Evans, we want you versus him, not Godwin. We want you versus Allen, not Kupp. There's specific matchups where he could really be set up to make plays, and that's what I want him doing.
Robbie, do you feel the same way there?
Yeah, right in line. You can't guard Cooper Kupp. You can hope to just be in the area is kind of what it is. And so you want to match that up with more often kind of your slot guy. And so it isn't the best matchup with Trayvon being on there. And he matches up better with Allen Robinson. So when we get to this week, I think you'll see that. And obviously there's going to be zone. It's going to be a team effort. I think what you're going to need to do is just have a lot of pressure, and that's going to be really crucial. And we talked about the loss of Andrew Whitworth. We talked about them having a rookie play right guard. You're going to have some matchups where you are going to be able to pressure Matt Stafford a little bit, and that's, I think, how you're going to have the most success. But, yeah, Cooper Kupp shutting him down, it's probably just not going to be a thing.
Looking at a guy like Micah Parsons, I'm sure this comparison is going to get thrown around a lot, but is Aaron Darnold – Micah Parsons ceiling, or could Micah be better? Robbie?
I'm gonna let Robbie start. I want to hear Robbie on this one.
Yeah,
man, it's tough to say he could be better, right? Because we're talking about the guy that's been the best player in the NFL for. I'd say he took over for J.J. Watt. How many years ago? 3-4 years ago. So, we're talking about like the highest of ceilings, right? Like going to be one of the best defensive players of all time. So. Hard to beat that ceiling. You can join that ceiling. But I think what we need to focus on for Parsons is just year 2. I think he had a fantastic rookie season, pass rushing wise. I think his run stopping has a lot of work. And that's something we don't always talk about. Everyone loves the stats, right? And so we're like, oh, yeah, the pressures were there. The sacks were there, set records as a rookie. But we need to make sure that we're not falling into this trap that we fell in with Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. Remember Leighton Vander Esch after 18? We're like, oh, this is fantastic. He's going to be one of the best. He's going to replace Sean Lee and be a 1-for-1 replacement. And I want to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves because successful rookie year doesn't always mean successful career. You have to get back to the table, fix our weaknesses. And we remember 2018's playoffs against the Rams. They ran all over us. 49ers, what did they do? They ran all over us. We need to fix the running. So that's what I want to see him work on this next year. So I'm not putting him up in that stratosphere right now, but obviously a very, very exciting first season.
Mike, what do you think?
It's crazy. I was looking at Aaron Donald's resume, and it's unanimous All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year, unanimous All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year, unanimous All. It's insanity. If you tell me Micah Parsons matches Aaron Donald, then I'll tell you yes, he can be better, because playing linebacker plus edge defender is going to be more impactful than playing defensive tackle. So if you tell me he plays like Aaron Donald, well, then I'll tell you, yeah, because he's at a position where he can do more to impact the game. Can we watch him a little bit more? That first year was incredible, and I get it. That was Aaron Donald as a rookie. Oh my God. But it's still teams halfway through the year were oh my God, this is what this guy is. You think Tampa Bay came in and was hey, hey, this rookie's, we got to watch him. He's going to be good. But they were hey, Tank and Gregory, Yep. And then by week 4, they're oh man, maybe we should push some of this focus. This year ain't going to be like that. This year, Tampa Bay's okay, that guy, right? Forget these other guys. Forget Trayvon Diggs, 11 interceptions. Him right there. See number 11? What do we do about him? And it's going to be how Dan Quinn uses what's going to make Micah Parsons better this year is how Dan Quinn goes, look, you're not going to get this sack. But the fact that everybody's watching you is why we are going to get a sack on this play, because we're going to set this up to do that. And so it's let's see how Dan Quinn uses him, how he develops. Let's give him some time. It's possible, but we'll talk about that year 6 when he's incredible for the last 5 years.
I think Cowboys Nation, we take the next Khalil Mack, we take the next Von Miller, but if we had a potential Aaron Donald, I think we'd all be pretty shocked, right? I mean that ceiling is pretty high to think that he compares to that. There was all those Lawrence Taylor comparisons last year, and even Michael was whoa. Hey, y'all need to calm down with that. So, yeah, those are good answers, man. I'd be happy with, of course, again, like I said, Von Miller, Khalil Mack, but, man, just to even be mentioned with Aaron Donald is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So, we're going up against Aaron Donald. The Rams have an Aaron Donald. We're hoping we might have an Aaron Donald. Robby, when you look at this matchup, do you have this as a win or a loss?
It's tough when you look at a team coming off a Super Bowl. The line got a little bit worse for them. I think they upgraded their passing offense with Allen Robinson, but I think we match up really, really well with them. Honestly, I think we do. But I'm just going to give it to them on paper because we know that there's going to be injuries, but we can't predict that in this scenario. We don't know who's in, who's out in that situation, but they're most likely going to be the team that comes out on top because they are just a bit more talented than we are on paper. And so I will give the win to the Rams.
Mike?
Yeah, you know me, I'm very Robby, when we do these schedule things, I tell people this isn't Madden, these are human beings and they got to do, so I always look at travel. Well, we're coming off a game at Washington and then we got to go all the way cross country to LA. Here's who the Rams play. Home, Arizona, at San Francisco, and then us. So they're not even leaving the area for the whole season. So they're not going to have the weary travel schedule. And as you guys know with Dallas, we don't have people in our area. Ours is New York, Philadelphia, Washington. So our travel's worse. So by the time we're headed out over there, it's week 5. You're coming off of back-to-back division games, and they're just sitting around the West Coast playing 3 home games in their first 5 and then 2 other West Coast games. That's brutal to ask to beat a team that talented like that. Character game if they can, but there's no way I'm picking them to win that game.
Yeah, I feel like you were saying, the travel us going to their house, being a road game. They're playing at home. They're comfortable. We get off to a hot start. I'm not sure if you listened to last week's episode, Robbie. I had it starting off 4-0, but I have a feeling that against the Rams here, this is going to be our first loss of the season here.
Mike, are you not where Paul's at with the 4-0 start? Where are you at with the start?
I'm 3-1.
3-1. Okay.
So Tampa, I have us losing week 1 to Tampa, but then winning the next 3.
The Bengals, yeah, that's the tough one, right? Those 2 first starts,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so moving on to week 6 here with the Philadelphia Eagles. Mike, what were some key additions that you saw here?
For me, it's Hassan Reddick. As good as Eagles' defensive line is, they don't really have that speed edge rusher. All their guys are power guys, and they kind of beat up teams physically. So having a guy that could win a different way, around the edge was big. So I had Hassan Reddick as the number 1 for them.
Robbie, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's right there. They added a really big piece on the offense, obviously, with A.J. Brown, and I think that should be talked about. But I had Hassan Reddick as well, just because if this team had a weakness, it's they don't always get to the quarterback the best. Their edges either have gotten hurt every year, or they just haven't gotten the job done from an edge push perspective, right? And so with Hassan Reddick, he's 5th over the past 2 years with 23.5 sacks, guys. Once they moved him from an inside linebacker to an outside linebacker, it's like the light bulb clicked. And this guy's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and I don't think he's talked about it in that light right now. And so that's going to be a problem for a lot of teams. And so I think that's very, very impactful.
Yeah, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and now Hassan Reddick. That's a pretty nasty defensive line.
It's gross.
For me, I have it on my show sheet. It's A.J. freaking Brown. I mean, I know Mike. I don't know if you've ever heard him go on his Jalen Hurts rants. Robbie, I don't know what you feel about Jalen Hurts, but to add a player of A.J. Brown's caliber to Jalen Hurts, and I'm pretty high on him myself, so that's a scary addition because you look at Devonta Smith, the compliment that he is, the type of wide receiver that he is, and then Quez Watkins and his speed. And I don't know if the jury's still out on Jalen Reagor, but I feel like this could be the year that maybe he goes off too after getting some more added competition. But A.J. Brown was the biggest addition for me.
Yeah, you can feel however you want about Jalen Hurts, but adding A.J. Brown to the team doesn't hurt.
Exactly.
Well played.
A little wordplay there. All right, so we're talking about the additions. What was there a big loss in your eyes for the Eagles this season, off-season, Robbie?
There really wasn't. I mean, they actually just added a bunch of people. They lost some people, but they were bad. Like Steven Nelson at corner. Like, I wish he was still there. I love when our wide receivers are facing Steven Nelson, right? They had a safety that left too. Like, they really didn't lose anybody that I was like, man, I wish they would have kept that guy because I love targeting that guy. So I don't have anybody of note.
How about you, Mike?
I had none. I agree. Nobody impactful.
We're going to go back to another ceiling question. We're talking about Jalen Hurts. Could Jalen Hurts' ceiling be Dak Prescott, or could he be better, Robbie?
It's interesting because they're different quarterbacks. So I see that comparison, but I almost kind of switched it in my question where I said, can he have Lamar Jackson's upside? Because I do think he's more built like that, where he's not quite that dynamic of a runner, but he is fantastic. Like if we're talking, hey, here's the best run in the NFL since Michael Vick. Like, here's just a really solid, fantastic runner that we haven't seen. If we hadn't heard of Lamar Jackson, he'd be one of the top 2, right? So I think that's very, very a very big ceiling that he wants to hit. And I think with A.J. Brown, that's going to just help him. So one thing that he doesn't have is I don't think he has Dak's mental processing. And I don't think he makes as good of decisions. Like some fans knock Dak for throwing an interception here or there. Dak has a 1.7 interception rate. Like, that is fantastic. Like, that's Aaron Rodgers level. That's Tom Brady level. Like, Dak doesn't make bad decisions with the football. He might not have the elite arm strength that some of these other top quarterbacks, but his mental processing and decision making is really top 4 in the NFL. So, yeah, Hurts has to improve his accuracy. He has to speed up his mental processing to get to Dak's level. But yeah, from the dual threat standpoint, man, he's definitely scary.
All right, Pig. I know you were over there. You're rubbing your hands together like Birdman. Talk to me.
Okay, so is Hurts ceiling Dak? No, he can't reach Dak because he can't throw at Dak's level. So he's just not going to be. There's a reason Robby came on and was like, he can run. He might be a Lamar Jackson runner, and Lamar Jackson can't really throw either. And he still won an MVP. You could win games with that. But Hurts can't throw the ball. Like, teams that are good defenses were taking Hurts away because they knew if you made him run one way, he couldn't throw. Like, it just, Dallas destroyed him. The teams in division he's going to have trouble with because they're going to see tape. They're going to see you roll him out to his left. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a bad processor. He just is. He's a playmaker because he has legs. And you add people like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders to help him make big plays. And then you get a big-time defense to carry and then hope he makes enough big plays to win you games. Dak Prescott could have the worst defense in the league and have you in a game 40-39. And you're like, how the hell is this guy even close? Hurts is never going to do that. The first 7 weeks of the year or 6 weeks of the year where Dak was an MVP, Jalen Hurts is never going to do that. He just doesn't throw the ball well enough. I'm a Hurts hater, Robby. That's what I'm told. I say I'm a truth teller, but whatever.
No, I like the point you made about Dak because it was just 2 years ago, right? We saw this team get derailed after week 5 because Dak goes out, right? It didn't matter if it was Andy Dalton. It didn't matter if it was Ben DiNucci. It didn't matter who the quarterback was. We were a completely different team. We were not competitive in a lot of games. Jalen Hurts got hurt this season. Gardner Minshew comes in, and I get Gardner Minshew is probably better than a Garrett Gilbert or a Ben DiNucci, but probably on par with an Andy Dalton, and they were just fine. They were absolutely just fine. There's a different dynamic with Dak, and now that's not to say Jalen Hurts does other parts of the game better, but when you put together all of what you need from a quarterback, he's just not there at that level. And so when you're matching him up to a can he be what Dak is? I'd say probably not. He'd have to make a massive Josh Allen leap in accuracy for that to happen, and that's more the exception, not the rule.
Fair enough. When you look at the Eagles as a franchise, Mike, do you feel that the Eagles are better at drafting and developing players than Dallas?
No, they're better at using the other. Like Dallas would never bring in a Hassan Reddick. It's a brilliant move. They need an edge rusher. They pay and go get an edge rusher. Dallas doesn't do that. Dallas hopes a Jaron curse happens, and you're like, oh, wow, what a great get. But nobody in the beginning of the year, he was a special teams guy to replace Darian Thompson. Then it ended up that he was friggin' amazing. And everybody was like, wow, this new hybrid linebacker safety, big nickel guy is just killing it out there, erasing tight ends, but they don't do that. Drafting wise, they don't even touch us. They're not even in. Jalen Reagor was just a couple years ago. That you're talking about people that left DK Metcalf sitting there to get, who was it? JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I think. Like they're really not good at Carson Wentz. Sorry, that's a failed draft pick. I don't know what to tell you. He didn't live up to the second overall pick, and they traded up to get him. So no, they don't draft near as well as us. We just added Micah Parsons, who fell. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, they do other stuff really a lot better than us, but they don't draft and develop like us, in my opinion.
Robby, do you agree?
Yeah, I'd say the Cowboys have a really strong record, especially for day 2 picks, right? Like recently we've hit with CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, right? Those are fantastic first round picks. But look at our day 2 picks for just the 2010s, right? Sean Lee, DeMarco Murray, Tyrone Crawford, Terrence Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, Chidobe, Jordan Lewis, Michael Gallup. Like these are all base level starters at worst. Like Terrence Williams might be the worst one on this list, and he was just fine as a wide receiver 2. Maybe should be wide receiver 3 some games, right? But other than that, they're all multiple year starters, 5+ years. They all got second contracts. Some of them were stars, and so that's a fantastic hit rate for your day 2, right? And I'd say that where the Eagles might be starting to catch up is they've had fantastic drafts the last 2 years, right? So last year they get Devonta Smith and Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson is a guy that's a difference maker right now for them. You've got a question coming up, so we'll talk more about Landon Dickerson. But and then this year they get 3 top 50 talents in Jordan Davis, who was probably the best D tackle in this draft. Cam Jurgens, a really intriguing center, and then Nakobe Dean fell probably way too far. They're going to find a way to use him. So I really like their last 2 drafts with those picks. And I forgot to mention Milton Williams. We're talking, Mike, you said at the beginning, why can't we take a one tech? Why can't we get a D tackle that can just stuff? Milton Williams and McNeil from NC State went right before us, back-to-back picks, I think, before we were up, and I was so devastated. I was in Hawaii on my honeymoon. I'm watching. I'm like, all right, we're going to take it. We're going to get our one tech. We're going to get our D tackle. Somebody took McNeil, and then I think it might be the Bears, and then Eagles took Williams. So, yeah, that's how I break down the drafts. Is we've been crushing them for a while. They have had 2 really good drafts last year, but we haven't had poor drafts outside of maybe a couple interesting third round picks, maybe. So,
yeah,
it's fair. You know, you we're leading up to this, Robbie. Let's say you can take one player not named A.J. Brown or Jordan Davis from the Eagles, you can add him to the Cowboys. Robbie, who would you pick?
Yeah, man, I almost spoiled it early. Like, I want to get Landon Dickerson, man. This guy could play all 5 spots. He did play all 5 spots, dominated. His only thing was he got injured a lot, which obviously you have a concern. That makes sense. But you're telling me if we could plug him in at left guard for us right now, oh, man, I'd be like, we're getting back to this offensive line of old. If we need to move him anywhere, right, we get an injured left tackle. We don't have to worry about a swing tackle. We can move in if we have a guard. He just makes your line so flexible with what he's able to do. And by the way, he's just dominant at what he does. So you have just the flexibility, but you're not losing your run domination, your run game domination with him. So that's a player that I'd like to have.
Mike?
Makes me so happy. Not only did we pick the right guy, but in my notes, I say left guard. Because if he's a center and he goes in over Biotish, great. He improves it. But if he plays left guard and improves it, now Smith becomes your swing. And that, Tyron Smith's going to miss a handful of games. Let that kid get in there. And I know a lot of people are going to hate it. Our first round pick is a backup, this and that. He's going to play a lot. Zach Martin's going to miss a few games. Tyron Smith's going to miss a few games. Steele will probably miss a couple games. I like Walesko and I like Josh Ball. But I like them as depth. Let them sit a little bit. So, yeah, I love that you said Landon Dickerson. That is also my guy. And I honestly thought you'd say center. The fact that you said left guard, we are on point right there.
Simpatico. Love it.
Yeah, for me, I was going with Dallas Goedert just to add another wrinkle to the offense to replace Dalton Schultz. I mean, you look what he can do. He's a complete tight end. He can block. He can do a lot after the catch. And he can eat up the middle of the field as well. He's a quarterback's best friend. So that's who I would take just because you look at Michael Gallup being injured. CeeDee Lamb, is he ready to be the number one? Jalen Tolbert's a rookie. James Washington never really, lived up to his potential. So I feel like we can use another pass catching one for myself.
You trying to progress stop Ferguson, man? What's wrong with you?
Hey, never. I'm just trying to win games, Mike. That's all I'm trying to do, sir.
Goddard would help.
Yep.
All right. So speaking of winning games, Robbie, is this a win or a loss?
I hate doing it, guys. I hate doing it. This Philly team got a lot better. And I think if you tilt your head and you squint, you can be like, we got better maybe too. But I'm not going to play this game. I got to split because this team just did get that much better. We talk about Hassan Reddick. We talk about A.J. Brown. We talk about they didn't lose anybody. They're going to be a tough team to beat twice. So if we're going to Philly, I'm going to drop one of those games. It's going to be this one.
Mike?
2 things. One, I know that past seasons do not reflect this season, but my gosh, does Dak kill the division when he's healthy? Yep. The other thing is I'm not picking Jalen Hurts to beat Dallas. I'm not. He can't throw with Dak. So, if they can run, the one thing we have been good at is stopping our division running the ball. Now, outside of the division, we're atrocious, but we're pretty good in division at stopping the run. And if they stop, the Eagles are done. If you have to put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands and he has to throw at Dak Prescott, it's over. Team for team, I think Eagles have a better team. I think Eagles are a little, not just really close. I think Eagles have a better roster. Quarterback's just too important. And we, as much better their roster may be, our quarterback's that much better than their quarterback. So I'm taking the quarterback to take us.
Yeah, I'm with Robbie here. I feel like after the way we embarrassed the Eagles last year, the additions they made this offseason, man, I think they're going to come out for blood. I think they have some some revenge on their mind. I think they're gonna strike first. I have this as a loss. I'm getting my son upset over that call. Sorry.
You can't be
Yeah,
picking those
he's mad.
losses. After you take us 4-0 to start the season, you're dropping 2 losses on us. He's a little concerned.
Yeah, you pissed him off. Thanks.
I've disappointed him yet again, man. All right, moving on here to week 7, it's the Detroit Lions, who are a very interesting team. Mike, you looking at this Lions off season, were there some additions that caught your eye?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say no. I know the guy everybody's going to say, but he's been kind of injured. I want to see what he does. Chark, I assume, is going to be the person that's talked about. For me, I didn't. Maybe. I mean, he could be, I guess, but I'm not just going to put him in as like, yeah, DJ Chark's going to be there and he's going to crush it. I don't know. He's been good before. I want to see him, come back and play healthy and do well with Detroit before I just like, yeah, that's a key addition.
Yeah.
I got none.
Robby, how about you?
Yeah, I've got their first round pick, the second overall, Aiden Hutchinson. This guy's going to be a problem. He's extremely powerful. He doesn't give up a whole lot athletic wise, and he plays both the run fantastic and he bullies tackles. Now, obviously, he's taken a step from Michigan to the NFL, but I think he has that build where he's staying in Michigan, going from them to Detroit, and so yeah, this is going to be game changing for their defense because their offense. They didn't have anybody at wide receiver, but they had some good weapons with Swift and Hawkinson, and now they've gotten some other pieces. I could see their offense taking a step forward. Their defense needs work. Like, you loved playing against the Lions because you knew you were going to put up 30 points every game, and he's going to be kind of that first start where they start to turn that around.
I can't believe I forgot. I wasn't thinking about a rookie. Duh. Yeah. I concur, Robby. I apologize.
Now, Mike, you must have looked at my show sheet, sir, because I had DJ Chark. I like the addition of him with Amon Ross St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift. I like what the Lions are doing there with offense. Like Robby said, though, their defense is a work in progress, but then you also look at the addition of Jameson Williams, who was somebody I considered even adding there, but he might not even be playing in this game. So I like the addition of Chark. I know it's a big if he can stay healthy, but when he is healthy, he is definitely a difference maker for on the field.
I can't believe I forgot rookies.
That's all right. Hey, you agree? When you go from, and we're going to talk about here the departures, right? When you go from Trey Flowers to Aiden Hutchinson, I know we haven't seen him play a game yet, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say he's going to be a little bit better than Trey Flowers. I think you have a major upgrade there at pass rushing and stopping the run.
Stop bringing people in from New England. Bill Belichick knows how to use them. You do not.
Well, Robby, talk to us about it. You mentioned the key addition, Trey Flowers. Who do you have as maybe somebody who actually might be missed?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Eagles, man, where I didn't see, like, the Lions roster was pretty bad last year, and anybody who was good, they still got him. So I really don't have anybody. I wrote down Trey Flowers, but he was kind of hashtag not good this last year. So yeah, I don't have them losing anybody of note.
Mike, how about you?
I put Trey Flowers if he was good.
Literally.
Simpatico, as you said.
Let's go.
Nothing.
Yeah, for me, I just had a question mark because I was looking at their offseason. It was only about the additions, and I even looked at players that they did leave, and I was like, none of these guys were making a difference. So, yeah, I'm right there with you guys. Is this a trap game, Robby?
Yeah, it kind of has that feel. For sure. The Cowboys are tucked in that 1 o'clock slate, right? Where we get spoiled where we're so used to the late afternoon or the Sunday night, whatever game. But they're tucked in that 1 o'clock slate. It's a team that you should win, you should beat. But Dan Campbell knows this team. He knows the Cowboys, obviously. And so they shouldn't be in this game. But you're right. They have to come. The Cowboys have to come correct if they want to win, because this is definitely a team that's hungry. And we'll have a couple upsets this season. They almost had a couple last year. I mean, they were a field goal away from beating the Ravens, right, week 2 or 3. They were competitive in a lot of games they shouldn't have been. So this is a team that might jump from 2 wins to like 7 wins. I can definitely see that happening.
They lost 3 games last year to 3 game-winning field goals. So
Yep.
Mike, what do you think? Is this a trap game in your eyes?
The reason I don't have it as a trap game is because I looked forward and said, okay, what are we looking ahead? And then we get caught in this trap. And the week after is the Bears. So I was like, hard to get you're kind of going to be looking at the Lions like, all right, you're not looking ahead going, oh God, the Bears are up next,
Yeah.
So I put it as not a trap game, but is it a scary game? Yeah, it's scarier than it should be. I will say that.
Yeah, I think this has a trap game feel, like Robbie was saying, but you look at the matchup on paper, I feel like Cowboys are still better, definitely much better on defense. That noon slate, those games can be kind of tricky, but I have a feeling that the Cowboys will handle the business on this one.
Yep.
Here's a little hypothetical here for you, Mike. Had the Lions drafted Micah Parsons and Dallas drafted Penei Sewell, would Detroit and Dallas be better, worse, or the same?
Okay, so here's the weird thing about it. Our offensive line was really bad. So if you tell me you plug in a guy there and he helps the offensive line, maybe we play the 49ers better. Maybe we win that game. Maybe we advance. Do I think we're a better team? No. We got the best player in the draft. I mean, we just did. Slater's really good also. There was a lot of good – Jamar Chase. There's a lot of good players. But this dude got votes for Defensive Player of the Year. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year over Jamar Chase, who was unbelievable. And people were like, nah, bro. I mean, did you see what Micah Parsons did as a defensive player? So, yeah, I have my dog likes Micah Parsons. I apologize. I have it. If they switched, you're just not – of course they're going to get better. They got Micah Parsons. Like, you don't lose guys like that. Not the way he played that first year. Like, he was the best pass rusher in football as a rookie. Impossible. But it is what it was. So, Sewell would have been a left guard for us mostly. He probably would have stayed there. They would have done something if Tyron Smith for continuity. So a left guard compared to the best pass rusher, like in the league as a rookie, yeah, I mean, we would have got worse. It's impact. It is what it is.
Robbie, do you echo that sentiment?
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. I have it written right there. Bigger impact on the game is going to be your pass rusher. Then even if you have a fantastic left tackle, that's why they get drafted high as well. But just they cannot impact the game the same way a pass rusher can. Like they can make or break drives every single snap, right? So Sewell is fantastic. This is not a knock on him, but if we did a 2021 redraft of that class, I would guess Parsons is right there in discussion for number one. So that's where I'll take Parsons would make them better, and we would get a little bit worse.
All right, Robbie, I'm sure this next question Mike hates, and I'm pretty sure I know where he's going to go with it, but would you rather have Jared Goff and his contract and Penei Sewell or Dak Prescott and his current contract?
Well, what's funny is that their contracts actually aren't that far apart when you look at them. Like it's $7.5 million per year, and if you look at Dak's contract, he's right in line. Yeah. I think he's sixth highest in average per year at $40 million, right there with Stafford. So you're telling me he's one of the top 8-7 quarterbacks paid in the league? Yeah, that's probably about right. Like Dak's right there, and Jared Goff is not that far behind him, except he's probably quarterback 25, right? Like, so no, I don't want to drop from talent quarterback 6-7, wherever you want to put him, all the way down to 25 and save $7.5 million and get a really good tackle. Like, we've got to be honest, that's a fantastic addition, but it's the quarterback position. I can't win with a below average quarterback. Like Goff got as far as he could. He got to the Super Bowl, and that was fantastic, but you can't win with a below average quarterback.
Mike, go ahead, tear it up.
Answering, y'all know. I'm not even answering this. I'm glad our guest did, and he's absolutely right. And I'm not even expanding on it. Get out of here. What's the next question? I know why you put that in there.
It gets them fired up. Gets the people going.
Bro.
It's provocative.
Jared Goff at a left guard for us. For Dak. Yeah, sign me up for Goff. Oh, nuh-uh.
All right, Mike, is this a win or a loss?
A win. Defense will make Goff. Defense will get Goff to make mistakes. This is the type of game that say people just don't throw at Diggs or Diggs hasn't made one yet, and everybody's like, "What's up with Diggs? He has one interception through 5." This is the one where he may get 2 of them. Like, Goff will throw it whoever. He's just not great. So, yeah, I think Dallas wins this one closer than you like, but comfortably close.
Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, I can't be the guest that comes on and picks them 0-3 their first, 3 games that I'm picking here. So no, I think that the Lions are an up and coming team, but we're talking about an up and coming team that's starting from 32, right, or 31. So I don't think they're quite where the Cowboys will be at. This should be and probably will be an easy win, I would say.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I feel like the Dallas' defense is just going to be too dominant. Their offense is going to be, still a work in progress. But if Zeke is healthy and, but this time we're hoping maybe Tyler Smith is playing well, or, our offensive line has got some things figured out. But, yeah, I just think Dallas is going to be too much for the Lions to handle as good as they've gotten over the last couple of years.
And the baby's quiet.
We pick some wins.
Yes, sir. Moving on here to Week 8, we have the Chicago Bears. In 2021, they had a 6-11 record. They missed the playoffs, and their 2022 strength of schedule is the 9th easiest. Robbie, were there some additions that Chicago made that caught your eye?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to that rookie and it's not even their first round pick. Their first round pick was a corner, Kyle Gordon. I like their second round pick, Jaquan Brisker. He's a safety out of Penn State. Man, this is a guy that can stuff the run, play that hang safety in the box, but he doesn't give up a ton in speed, right? You're worried if he's going to be like that, he's going to be like a Roy Williams, right? We think back to Roy Williams. Is he going to be a little bit of a liability in coverage? No, he's not at all. So he's going to do that for you. That's his specialty, but he can also cover. He's not slow. And that really frees up Eddie Jackson for them. Eddie Jackson's kind of that center fielder for them. He was kind of Trayvon Diggs before Trayvon Diggs, where he had an interception in every single week. And so I think that helps their defense a lot in getting Jaquan Brisker.
Mike, what about you?
I'm going to show you something crazy. Once he mentioned the rookies with Detroit, I went and said, oh, shoot, I forgot we could add the rookies. I don't know if you can tell, but I scribbled out Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude, we're like on as the show's going. I'm like, no. Jaquan Brisker. I forgot about rookies. That's it. You already had it. So I yield to I do something I don't often do. I let somebody else talk. Robbie, you are correct. Jaquan Brisker is the guy.
For me, I'm going to go with the new GM, Ryan Poles, replacing the former GM, Ryan Pace, who in 7 years had a losing record, had a history of overpaying the wrong players and drafting the wrong players and never winning a playoff game. I feel like Ryan Poles has already made a significant impact on the Bears franchise.
So, question, how do we feel about how they did helping Fields, though, this offseason?
Not good enough.
Not good enough is a nice way to put it. Yeah. And we'll get to that in another question, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mike, well, you're pretty close. You keep a close eye to the Bears. What were some key losses you saw this offseason?
We talked about them going to the Rams. I mean, just taking that away from Fields. Wait, was Robinson still with Bears last year?
Yeah, he just was injured.
Well, he was kind of there. Like, let's be real. He was kind of there.
There was, for some reason, right now, I was like, did I see him go in the Minnesota Vikings last year? I don't know why. I apologize.
Oh, my God.
13 straight days of work. So, yeah, Robinson's the guy. You take it. He would have just been something for a security blanket for Fields, and just not being able to have that even is brutal. So, yeah, big loss for them.
Robbie, what about you?
Yeah, man, I think 2-3 years ago, this was a Chicago Bears defense that you did not want to face, right? Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks stuffing the run. This was a team that you just didn't want to play. And so I know that Khalil Mack wasn't his best last year, had injuries, but he had 6 sacks in 7 games. And then Akeem Hicks has just been one of the best run stuffers in football for a long time, and he moves on as well. So I think they're going to feel both of those losses here in 2022.
Yeah, Khalil Mack, you think about early in his career, making all-pro in 2 different positions, at linebacker and at defensive end. Anytime you lose a player like that, I mean, of course, for the future of the Bears, it makes a lot of sense, the move that they made. But, man, just losing an impactful player like that on your defense, man, that's always going to be tough.
And that's me on the phone. I apologize to the guests and to you, sir. I
Yeah.
promise it's important or I wouldn't do it.
All
Robert,
good.
when you look at the Bears, do you think they have a better roster than people give them credit for?
I wish I did, but they don't. Like, I have a lot of friends who are Bears fans, and I talk to them. I'm like, hey, guys, what happened this offseason? Like, there's a lot of opportunity to get better. I know you traded, your first round pick to go up and get Fields this last draft, but that doesn't like you can make your team better in a lot of different ways. And I just don't think this roster is great. They have an unproven quarterback. I like Fields, but he doesn't have a lot around him, right? We're talking about a bottom 5 offensive line, probably a bottom 2 wide receiver room. Like, tell me a worse wide receiver room than Darnell Mooney and question mark, right? Like, I truly don't know. I play fantasy football. I follow it. I talk about it for a living. It's like Byron Pringle and Equanimous St. Brown, and I'm running out of names. Like, I don't even know who else they have. So, and then they have a bottom 5 defensive line. We just talked about their losses with Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack. Like, they have bottom 5 areas and just too many positional groups that I think they're going to have a really rough year. So, yeah, this is definitely a bottom of the NFL roster.
Mike, I assume you agree?
My dad's a Bears fan, so this is going to hurt him, but he knows it. They're just not built like the Bears. And Robby said it, offense and defensive line. That's when the Bears are good, it's what they're built on. It's what they're Khalil Mack, 85 Bears, defensive line, offensive line, run with sweetness, get to the quarterback. And anytime they're any good, it's normally that, and they have some amazing special teams, like great kickers, great punters, great returners. Like, they've been able to win so often with poor quarterbacks. And I think because quarterbacks became so important, they tried under Matt Nagy, Kansas City guy, bring it in. Like, dude, nah, bro, that ain't you. And now they have to catch back up, And so it's gonna be a little bit. I feel bad for my dad, but yeah, the roster is not good, and they're not a Chicago roster. Where they are good is not what they need to be to win in Chicago in that town.
Well, Robert, let me ask you this. I mean, when you look at just some core pieces, Fields, Mooney, Montgomery, Trayvon Jenkins, the right tackle they drafted last year, and you look at the side of the defensive ball, I mean, do they at least have a core in your mind to build around?
Yeah, I think Roquan Smith, after he had kind of a rough first 2 years, but these last 2 years, he's been fantastic. I mean, he's been all pro, second team the last 2 years. He's this do it all middle linebacker, probably the best middle linebacker they've had since Lance Briggs. And he's just going to kind of have to wear it this year because he's not going to have Akeem Hicks, taking up those center and guard to clean it up for him to come in. But he's going to have to be that guy this year just to keep him in games. I do like their secondary. A lot of young guys, but I think a lot of talent in the secondary. But it'll be just kind of him and Robert Quinn up on the front 7 for their defensive side. But, yeah, I really like Roquan Smith. I remember when we were looking, where are we going to pick 4 years ago? He was a guy I was eyeing. So he's going to be their best player for me.
Mike, I mean, answer the same question. Do you think they have a future to have some players to build around?
It's going to depend on the quarterback. So, I mean, if Justin Fields hits, he'll make a lot of the offense better, and then they can build a defense around Roquan Smith, who, to lead in, just like Robby, also my best player. So, that gives you a setup, Paul. Your best player, Paul, for the Bears?
I want to say, Robby made a compelling case for Roquan Smith. I was going to go David Montgomery just because of the workload and the position he plays and what he's going to have to do for that offense this year when, Fields is still unproven, learning another new offense and, not really having a lot of talent around him to be successful. So, the role he's going to have to play it's going to be similar to what Roquan Smith's going to have to do for that defense.
Montgomery's fantastic because teams know that that's the guy, and they have a bad O-line, an unknown quarterback, and bad receivers around him. And that guy would put up a 200-yard game. You're like, what? How? But he's damn good.
So, Robby, it sounds like you're not a big fan of Darnell Mooney. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm a fan of Darnell Mooney. I just think he'd be a number 2 on most teams, right? And he's their number 1. So I think when we had maybe it was Dez years when Dez was out and Terrence Williams became our 1, it was like, I'm fine with Terrence Williams. He's good. He's not a number 1.
Right.
and he shouldn't be a number one. He can be a fine 2, maybe sometimes a 3 if Cole Beasley's having a good game, right? But so I don't dislike Darnell Mooney. It's just he's going to get 150 targets because he's the only guy in town, and he might only have 5 touchdowns with it because he's not a big guy, not going to be a red zone threat. And we'll see how much he can connect with Justin Fields down the field.
From
Is
a
Cole Beasley a Bear?
perspective.
No, I guess I was just kind of going back to the Terrence Williams, like who.
Oh, okay. I don't remember where he went.
Cole Beasley
is
he's unemployed. I'm sure people are waiting to see what the mask policies are for each stadium first before they sign him.
Smart move.
I was going to say, you mentioned the 150 targets for Mooney. That for fantasy, you love to see that. But don't sleep on Cole Kmet either. I feel like he's going to have a good year
for sure. For sure. Definitely like Cole Kmet. 0 touchdowns last year on 60 receptions. That's going to change. So absolutely.
We were talking about David Montgomery. When both are healthy, who is better, David Montgomery or Ezekiel Elliott, Mike?
I think it depends on your style. If you're just trying to run the ball, I want Montgomery running. Less of a collision rate on him. Zeke had a lot of carries in college, and he's kind of worn down a little bit. If you're a passing team, not that Montgomery can't catch the ball, but he ain't blocking like Zeke. Both can catch the ball. Zeke's been good out of the backfield. So if I'm in a Dallas style offense, man, oh God.
I'm
in a Dallas style offense, I think I want to go to Tony Pollard. But that's tough. I love Zeke blocking. I think me personally, with having Dak Prescott, I want the better runner. And maybe Zeke was better when he was healthy. I don't know. I guess I'd go with Zeke.
Well, take away you're running the Dallas offense. Let's just say you're building a team from scratch and you're looking for a running back.
Montgomery then.
Oh,
and
wow.
I understand the value that Ezekiel Elliott brings blocking wise.
Yeah.
But man, Montgomery just had no offensive line and was just racking up yards. Like, how the hell are you doing this? I probably have to go Montgomery. That's a tough question. That's tough.
I'm surprised. Surprised.
Zeke healthy? Look at his first few weeks. I'm interested. Robbie, the fantasy man, what you think?
Yeah, just to clarify on the question, are we taking them like they're both healthy right now? So age 27, and I think Monty's 24 right now. Or are we just saying?
Let's say they're both 24 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to clarify because I think what Mike was saying. You said, hey, you want to draft a running back right now? Well, I'm going to take the younger running back that I know has 3 more good years, 4 more good years. So I would agree in that scenario. In the scenario where, hey, just as their talent, the best that they have been in the NFL, or they're both 25, right? No, I'm going to take Zeke. Zeke is the better overall runner. He has more explosive plays. He is a much better pass protector. He's just the better athlete. Like Montgomery, and I'm a Montgomery guy, like fantasy wise, loved his tape coming out of Iowa State. That's one thing that I think Mike said that was interesting is when we compare them as pass catchers. Zeke can catch the ball. Montgomery was a pass catcher at Iowa State. Like he would line up, go out for passes at 220 pounds that he is, and he'd be a pass catcher. He's phenomenal at doing that. And his yards after contact, Mike, you hit on this. Like he breaks 3 tackles just to get 2 yards in Chicago. Like this guy would be elite anywhere else because he is such a shifty back and breaks tackles at an incredible rate. So yeah, I like them both. These are 2 guys that I really, really enjoy their running styles, and they are different, like Mike said. But we're just talking about the better overall running back. It's going to be Zeke for me if the age is thrown out the window.
Yeah. Well, so when I wrote this question, where my mind was is they're the same age. They're not the same age, but Zeke's 27, David Montgomery's 24. They're just both perfect health.
Yep. Yeah. So to answer Mike's question, he was saying, how do I see Zeke coming back? We look at the splits from healthy Zeke to hurt Zeke. It's night and day. 85 yards a game to 49 yards a game after his PCL injury in week 4. His yards per carry was 5.5. His yards per catch was like 7.5, and then afterwards he's at 3.9 rushing and 5.5 or something like that receiving. Like it's just you can tell he's hurt. And all of us Cowboy fans that watched it, we knew he wasn't healthy, but the stats back it up. And then people are like, okay, well he was he wasn't good in 2020 either. Well, he was a little bit banged up, and by the way, we never had a starting offensive line that played together, right? We were playing our third string tackle, we were playing our third string quarterback. So I hate being the excuse guy, but I want to make sure context is important when we're talking about why Zeke has struggled the last 2 years. It's because he was playing with third string quarterbacks and third string tackles. Didn't have Zach Martin, didn't have his left tackle. They're all pro guys. And then this last year, there was a injury he should have sat out for, but he didn't because he's a tough guy. He plays through injury, and he didn't sit out, and he probably should have. And so his numbers were down. His explosion was gone.
All right, we haven't had a lot of nice things to say about the Bears. Mike, looking at this game, is this a win or a loss?
It's a win. The Bears' defense isn't what it once was, and our defense should be able to carry us against Fields. I just don't see how they make a lot of plays. So this should be one of the easier wins on the schedule, knock on wood.
Robbie?
Yeah. This is going to be a field day for Dallas. So I'm really in on. I think this is going to be one of those games where you want to play both Zeke and Pollard because I think we're going to run all over them. I'm excited for this game, so I have Dallas winning.
All right, yeah. So I'm right there with you guys. This should be a pretty easy victory. It should be over by halftime if the Cowboys come to play. Yep. All right, so here we are. We're going to do our record recap for weeks 5 through 9. Mike, you had us, I believe, at 2-2, correct?
I had us at 3-1 again.
3-1, and Robbie, you had us at 2-2, correct?
Yeah, that the first 2 games, I think there is a chance they can split it. But looking at just the overall schedule, and it's tough to give them both of those wins. They're definitely capable of sneaking one of those, but I'm going to start us out 0-2, picking up the next 2 divisional games. So 2-2 going into this week 5.
Yes, sir. I have us at 2-2 as well. And here we are. We're coming into the bye week, and Robbie, realistically, what would you like our record to be? For the first 8 weeks heading into the bye.
Yeah, I think you have to be at least 4-4. We have actually like 3 really tough games. 4 if you want to throw the Eagles in that upper echelon of teams now. So I think we have 4 really tough games. And so if you're 5-3, I think you're really excited. I think 6-2 might be pushing it a little bit. So you really need to be 4-4 is kind of where I'm expecting realistically to be.
And do you like the timing of the bye? No, you're good. Do you like the timing of the bye week, Robbie?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I like the timing of the bye week. I remember one year we had like a bye week 5. It's been a couple years now. And I was like, well, we don't need bye weeks in week 5. Like, come on now. Like, let's get this later in the year. So as late as we can get it. I mean, I'm even a fan of getting a bye week in week 13. Like, I want to be as healthy as we can later in the year. I know injuries can happen at any time, but statistically, more injuries happen throughout the season. So by the time you're at week 10, 11, 12. So, yeah, I like the bye week where it's at. And if it gets later, that's fantastic too. The reason I really like the bye week this year is because we go to Lambeau afterwards, and I think that's a game that I have. And maybe I'm jumping into the next question, so I apologize if I'm doing that, but I'm just going to loop it in together. Where I'm looking forward to that game because anybody who's been a fan of the Cowboys in the 2010, 2014, and 2016 were really, really tough losses that sting for 2 different reasons. Can't bring them back up, but during the McCarthy era, we've come out of the bye week 2-0. Beat the Vikings twice. I know that Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau is going to be a little bit different, but if you're telling me we have an extra week to prepare and they're traveling a little bit, they're going from Detroit to Green Bay, but still they're not at home for the previous week. I like our chances, and hopefully we can be 3-0. We had our backup quarterback both of those weeks too. So 2020 had Andy Dalton. 2021 we have Cooper Rush, who was at that game live, and so yeah, I'm hoping we can get 3-0 out of the bye week under Mike McCarthy.
I love the idea of Dan Quinn getting an extra week to set something up for Aaron Rodgers, so yeah.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
When the Cowboys aren't playing, Robbie, is your Sunday still dedicated to football?
Oh, you know it, man. It's all fantasy football. So we do a little pre-show in the morning, kind of getting people with these, do I start this guy? We're kind of trying to do our best to help. And then, so I've got the Cowboys on one screen, NFL Red Zone on the other one. If the Cowboys have a bye week, it is a little bit weird because I'm just all watching Red Zone. I'm like, man, I feel like I need another screen somewhere. I need to be yelling at what we're supposed to be doing or not watching because we're not playing well in the first quarter and I'm getting frustrated. But yeah, I think that the red zone is kind of how I spend my Sundays along with the Cowboys.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And then you talked about your circled game is Green Bay, yes?
Yeah, man, that's the circled game because I think if you win that game, you really set yourself up for some momentum because then you have the Vikings, Giants, Colts, Texans, Jags. I mean, I know the Colts are going to be good, but that's a very winnable and tasty slew of games. 3 of them are at home with the Giants, Colts, and Texans all in a row. So I really like that stretch, right? We have a really tough beginning of the schedule, but that stretch afterwards, if you can get a win against the Packers and build that momentum, man, that could be a hell of a run. So really excited about that Packers game. I'm going to get my hopes up, and hopefully they don't break my heart like they do most times against the Packers.
You know, when you look at their schedule, Robbie, what is your record prediction for the Cowboys this year?
Yeah, it's tough kind of pinning them down. I always feel like I want to do a range, but if you're going to pin me down to one exact record, I think 11-6 makes sense. It's kind of right where they were last year, and you can argue that on paper they're a little bit worse, right? I think Amari Cooper's presence is going to be felt. His presence being gone, I should say, not being present, is going to be felt on the offensive side. We do have a rookie in James Washington kind of trying to string things together right away, and then we'll get Gallup back at some point. But I do think that there's going to be a little bit of an effect there with Dak's ability to just always know Cooper's open. And then defensively, there's some changes. We have different pass rushers in there, and I think that they're going to be fine. It's just a collective of guys than maybe just Gregory now. And so I don't think that there's a huge drop-off there. Really like Jabril Cox coming in and kind of being that third linebacker for us. So, yeah, I think that they're going to be kind of similar to how they were last year, but I do think it's a big opportunity for some of these younger guys to step into bigger roles with CeeDee Lamb, Kelvin Joseph, Jabril Cox, who I talked about, and then Terrence Steele. I think he's going to have to step up and really become kind of, hey, you're no longer that young first year, second year player. It's year 3 for a lot of you guys, or year 2 for a couple of them. It's like it's go time.
All right, so I'm throwing in a question, not on the show sheet, just real quick. Name the 3 linebackers that start for Dallas.
It's tough because where are you putting Parsons, right? Like
let's say Parsons is playing linebacker. Who's the other 2?
Yeah, you're probably picking Cox and probably LVE.
Jaron Curse is a linebacker. He's a linebacker.
I mean, here's the thing: is what I love about Dan Quinn's defenses is that it's not going to be the same, right? It's going to switch, not even just every game, but probably different drives, right? So you're going to see different matchups. So I absolutely love that answer too. If you told me who's going to have the most snaps at the end of the year, I'm going to say LVE is going to have more snaps probably than Curse at linebacker. But I get what you're saying too. It's like, hey, when we go nickel, when we go into these sets where we need more speed, yeah, LVE is coming off the field for sure. So
yeah,
no, I'm with you there. And that's what's cool about Dan Quinn is that there's just going to be so much. Parsons isn't going to be only at linebacker. He isn't only going to be at end. And so I think there's going to be a lot of mixing and matching with this defense. So I'm excited about that.
Is 11-6 good enough to make us a playoff team, my friend?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you get 7 teams, especially with how the NFC is right now, I think that gets you in for sure. It's like the question is, did you win the division or are you traveling? I think that's the big thing is we're going to make, assuming health and something crazy doesn't happen, because I hate when we get on and we just make all these declarations. We're going to be a playoff team, but this team should be a playoff team. Now it's, did you win the division or are you traveling somewhere that first week of the playoffs? And so, I think that they're going to be right in there, and it's just going to be, hey, who can step up past the guys that have experience, right? We know Dak, Zeke, Gallup, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, LVs, like these guys have playoff experience. It's now, hey, these other guys, that's where it really rests. I think this season is, do your other younger guys step up this year?
Robbie, what's your Super Bowl prediction for this year?
Man, you know what's interesting about the AFC this year is they have like so many good teams. Like it's ridiculous how good the AFC. I'm so glad that Dallas is in the NFC. I can't tell you that enough. Like you just said it right, Paul. The AFC West is like, tell me 3 of those 4 teams make the playoffs and they're all double-digit win teams. I would not be surprised. Man, I would love to pick. The Chargers are kind of like my sleeper team. I want to pick them for the Super Bowl, but I just think the Bills are due. They were so close last year. You're telling me Mahomes goes down and scores in 11 seconds, and that's how they don't advance, and now they get better. Like the Bills got better this offseason. That's scary. So I'm going to take the Bills just because they were so close last year, and I'm going to have them playing the Bucs. I think this is a. I know the Bucs are a little bit different of a team than they have been, where they returned all of their starters last year. But I think this might be Tom's last ride, and I think they have a good enough team where they put it all together, and they're probably maybe they win, maybe they don't. The Bills it's tough. It's tough to do that prediction. I might actually have the Bills beating the Bucs, and maybe that means Tom Brady comes back again because he can't stand to be just right there and not get it. But both those teams are going to be fantastic.
Bills got better, and their big competition, Kansas City, got worse.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I don't even have Kansas. Maybe this is hot takey because a lot of people are still have them there. I don't have them as a top 4 team in the AFC. I have Bills, Chargers, Broncos, and Colts. Like the Broncos are a better roster than the Chiefs, and I don't think people are talking about it. They're a quarterback away. They were a good team that almost made the playoffs last year with Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Now you just upgrade to a top 7 quarterback in Russell Wilson. Like they're better. Colts getting Matt Ryan. I get it. People aren't like diving over their chairs to get Matt Ryan. He is a much better and safe quarterback than Carson Wentz. I think he's going to add to what they have on their defensive side. They're going to be scary. And then the Chargers, man, the Chargers are so scary. Like their offensive and decent defensive side. Their offensive line was their weakness last year, and they just totally revamped it. There's too many good teams in the AFC. It's wild.
That Chargers, man, that playoffs is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
the AFC playoffs is going to be must watch. Because even though I completely agree, maybe Colts and Kansas City are close because how great Patrick Mahomes is.
For sure.
But, like, Kansas City is going to be the 3rd or 4th best team. Kansas City. Name one of us here that if we told you right now we went to the future and said, oh, Kansas City made the Super Bowl, none of us would be like, oh, my God. Be like, well, yeah, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, sure. Their defense stepped up. That's how crazy that AFC is. Insane.
Yeah, no, and you said it, like Patrick Mahomes, it's super, disrespectful to say, hey, they're going to be the 4th best team, like, because he's fantastic. Tyreek Hill is a game changer, and it's not just because of what he does when he gets the ball. You said it for a different player, for Micah Parsons, right? You said, hey, you might not get the sack, but somebody else is going to get the sack because you're taking 2 players. Tyreek Hill gets the double coverage so that Travis Kelce gets the easy seam catch, or that Mecole Hardman or one of their other wide receivers gets an easy down the field 20-yard bomb, right? Like, it's going to be a little bit of a problem when they're double teaming Kelce, and now you have to have Juju Smith-Schuster or Marquez Valdez-Scantling step up and be your star wide receiver, which no disrespect to those guys, but they're not Tyreek Hill's level. They're not getting double covered. They're going to definitely be a worse passing offense, and I don't think that's even on the table that they repeat.
Yeah. All right, Robby, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. Before we get you out of here, let the people know where they can find your work.
Yeah, so we don't have a website anymore because that costs money, and all we were really doing is posting a couple articles. So we're strictly on YouTube, where we think the video and podcast form. So you can search the Fantasy Authority on any of the podcast platforms, on YouTube at the Fantasy Authority, because we think people want to listen to audio and visuals, and that's what you guys are doing too. That's kind of the new mainstream, and so that's what we're trying to do. And we do Dynasty, we do Redraft, we do DFS, we even do Devy for those super crazy people who want to draft college players and have them score points. So, yeah, we're doing all sorts of fantasy stuff all summer long, getting you guys ready for the 2022 season.
And remind the people they can find you on Twitter, Robby.
Yeah, that's at NFL Robby. Short and simple, like Mike likes.
Mike, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
At CD Piglet, guys. Letter C, letter D, Piglet. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and I'll see you guys next week.